What I want to talk about today is the linen stitch. Now this is a stitch that was usually done with knitting needles, and I've been trying to kind of figure out, transferring it to the loom, and there's two different ways that you can do this. Because the stitch requires you to do like a knit stitch, you can choose between the E-wrap like you normally see me do, or flat knit, which is where you place the yarn in front and you knit over. So for this I wanted to show you the two different ways first, and then you could decide when you're doing it whether or not you want to use the E-wrap knit or the flat knit. So I'm showing you a sample that I've done up already, and I'm going to try to zoom in here so you can see. This is the bottom part, and I apologize for my nails. This was done with the flat knit. As you can see, it's a little tighter and gives it a little more definition. Then I switched over to like just a regular E-wrap to show space, and then if you come up to this part, you can see that this is done with the E-wrap knit, and it's a little bigger. So there is a difference in the way that they look between doing the E-wrap knit, which is again this one, and the flat knit, which is down here. So again, you can choose how you want it to look, and I'm using the sock loom 2 because I like the gauge of it. And it's a very simple stitch to work up. You just need to know basically whether you're going to do flat knit or E-wrap knit, and basically you need to know about the working yarn in front. You need to remember, like with the first row, you need to be able to end on a knit. So when you do your cast on row, whichever one you choose, and what I did, because I wanted to make sure I ended on knit, is as I was wrapping, I knew that this would have to be knit, working yarn in front, and I kind of worked repeating that until I got to where I knew I would end on a knit. So you can do as many pegs as you want, as long as you make sure you're ending where you need to for the stitch or pattern. Now, for the first part, for the row 1, we're actually just going to do, we are going to do a knit 1, slip 1 with working yarn in front, and you repeat that till the end of your row. So again, this is where you choose whether you want to do an E-wrap knit, which is simply this, and you knit over, or whether you want to lay the working yarn in front and knit it over. Now again, I did it both ways in the sample, so it's a matter of how you want it to be. Due to this, I'm going to do the E-wrap knit because of the showing you how it got a little tight on me when I was doing it with the flat knit, though I like it both ways. Like I said, this is done with the flat knit, and then this one up here is done with the E-wrap knit. So let's first try, we'll do a first row of the E-wrap knit. So you're going to do, your first stitch is a knit 1. The next part you have to do is called a working yarn in front. So what that means, if you hold your loom this way, is you're going to lift off, give it a second here to focus. For the working yarn in front, it means you're going to lift off the loop on your next peg. You're going to place your working yarn behind that peg, and then put your loop back on the peg. And then you knit again, whichever knit you choose to do. And this is row 1. Again, we're going to do the working yarn in front. So we take off the loop, and then we place the working yarn behind the peg. And place it back on. Knit. And then we knit. This is row 1. It's worked over 4 rows, and then again you would keep repeating them for as much as you wanted. For row 2, we're going to simply knit, which means again, if you're doing the flat knit, you're going to do that. If you're doing the E-wrap knit like me, you're going to go ahead and just E-wrap knit this row. And that is your row 2. Now row 3, we're reversing what we did for row 1. So instead of starting with the knit, we're actually going to start with the working yarn in front. So again, you're going to start, by taking your working yarn, the loop off the peg, placing your working yarn behind it like that, and placing your loop back on. then again, knit. Now I would suggest doing this both as the E-wrap knit for the 4 rows and then the flat knit to see which one you like better, as you saw with my sample. Some of it may depend on the project you're doing. You may decide you like it better with the flatter knit. But again, when you're flat knitting, be careful, because if you have it too tight on there, excuse me, you're not going to be able to knit over as well when you need to. So keep again, it's called working yarn in front. Knit. And slip. It may seem weird to slip on the end, but that's okay. So we're going to take the working yarn, put it behind our peg. Oops. Get over there. Okay. Put that back on, and that is row 3. So again, now for the last part, which is row 4, just simply go ahead and do whatever knit you were doing before. What I like is this is a simple variation on 2 different techniques that will give you a cute looking pattern at the end too. So I mean, that's what I love about with loom knitting, is you can just take different combinations of knitting and purling and, you know, knowing basic looming techniques and actually make some pretty wonderful projects. So again, that is all the linen stitch is about. Your choice is just whether or not you want to use the flat knit or whether you want to use the E-wrap knit. So again, you can see that we have our little sample. This was done with the flat knit, excuse me, which I kind of like too, like I said, and then this was done with the E-wrap knit, and we just did another E-wrap. So again, if you're going to do the flat knit, like if we were redoing this project, you would have just your yarn laying in front. You would not be wrapping it around like you normally do. You wouldn't be E-wrapping it. You would be just laying it in front of the project and knitting over. But what I would suggest is just make sure you give yourself a little slack, because otherwise when you come back through the knit, this could get pretty tight. So that's my only pointers, is when you're doing the linen stitch, is just practice and do swatches between the 2 flat and E-wrap knit and see which one you like better.